Now.
Today on the news at noon, we're getting ready for the weekend on a Wednesday. What to know ahead of tonight's big concert.
Plus, we're also getting ready for more rain, and we are narrowing down on when that heavy rain could hit. So meteorologist Sarah Spivey will be tracking the latest.
But first, some people are in disbelief after what appears to be another case of human smuggling not far from the site where it happened before, with deadly consequences.
Well, San Antonio police say someone dropped off a truckload of people on Quintana Road on the city's southwest side and just down the street from the spot where 53 migrants died back in 2022. Our Katrina Weber is live at a mobile home park nearby off of Laredo Highway.
Yeah, and Katrina, we know that's where police may have caught up with some of these folks.
Well, that's right. They tell us that they caught 7 people in all. Now, you can still see some of the crime scene tape from what people here tell me was quite a sight. Police officers, patrol cars, even a drone, all scattered about this area. Now, I want to show you on a map exactly where this started, right around the corner from where I am right now, near Quintana Road and Plumnier Road. That's about a mile, little more than a mile north of the memorial in honor of those 53 smuggled migrants who died in the back of a semi-truck 3 years ago. The police found out in this area last night after getting a call around 5 p.m. about a semi-truck that was offloading a group of about a dozen people. Police say some of those people then climbed into waiting cars while others ran off, eventually making their way into an open field and the mobile home park off New Laredo Highway. SAPD says officers ended up detaining 7 people, some of those in cars that they were able to stop. Police then called in Homeland Security for help and handed the people over to those federal agents. They say there were no injuries or deaths reported this time, but talking to people in this area, they say this does bring back memories of that tragedy 3 years ago when 53 migrants did die in the back of a semi-truck. Now, coming up later this evening on KSAT 12 News, I'll tell you what one local elected official says he plans to do to try to prevent this from happening again. Reporting live on the southwest side, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Katrina, thank you for that live report. And looking out there with the live cam, we are warming up, 88 degrees already, and I know it's going to get a lot hotter this afternoon and even tomorrow, Sarah.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be, oh my goodness, we're going to be close to 102 tomorrow. Guys.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Very, very hot. But all focus is on the weekend, and here's the reason why. Take a look at the weekend forecast. Saturday, for the most part, is going to be just hot with spotty rain, but the time frame for heavier rain is coming into clearer focus, and it does look like Sunday and Sunday night into early Monday, flooding is going to be possible. So coming up a little bit later in the show, I'm going to walk you through when flooding is most likely, how much rain some certain areas could see, and why we're getting a clearer picture. It's all because of Hurricane Lorena out in the Pacific Ocean. I'll have those updates for you in a bit. Take a look at highs only near 87. But first, I want to get you through the rest of your Wednesday. 91 right now in San Antonio, 88 in Del Rio, 88 in Kerrville, and 91 in New Braunfels. We just have some of those puffy cumulus clouds out there, and we're going to be looking at a high temperature of 98 degrees. So as I mentioned, I'll focus on the weekend and the rain chances because of Hurricane Lorena. I'll have those details in a few minutes.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, the Uvalde County District Attorney stated that she does not oppose former Uvalde CISD officer Adrian Gonzalez's request to relocate his trial outside the county.
Now, that's according to records obtained by KSAT. Gonzalez was indicted on 29 counts of endangering a child for his response to the 2022 Robb Elementary School shooting when 19 children and 2 teachers were killed.
He had filed a motion in early August to change the venue of his upcoming trial, and Gonzalez's defense team argued that he could not receive a fair trial by a jury in Uvalde County due to the impact of the massacre had on members of the community.
In response to Gonzalez's request, Uvalde County District Attorney Christina Mitchell said that the recent release of records from the county and Uvalde CISD impacted her decision. She said, quote, "Given the recent release of information, documentation, and evidence to the media, the state does not object to the defendant's motion to change the venue," end quote.
Gonzalez pleaded not guilty to the charges back in 2024. His trial is scheduled to start later this year. Well, in the latest batch of documents released by Uvalde CISD revealing the district received 13 terroristic threats in the 2021-2022 school year leading up to the shooting at Robb Elementary. So the latest batch of documents were released yesterday afternoon, and out of the 13, One terroristic threat was at Robb Elementary. Now 6 were at Morales Junior High, and Crossroads Elementary was the only school district in that district that did not have any terroristic threats. Over the last week, KSAT has received thousands of records from the district that were previously unreleased. For the full breakdown, you can head over to KSAT.com and search Uvalde.
In other news, a man is now in custody following a deadly shooting on the southwest side. It happened last Wednesday on Southwest Military Drive near I-35. An arrest affidavit says 58-year-old Richard Rodriguez Jr. had been charged with murder for the murder of Thomas Ray Harper. Police talked to witnesses after the shooting who say they got into an argument. That's when they say Rodriguez allegedly fired one shot and took off. His wife, who was there at the time of the murder, identified him by a photo. She was in the car at the time, but is not facing any charges.
A popular San Antonio sushi bar and Japanese ramen restaurant closing its doors after 10 years of service. So in a social media post, Nama Ramen announced that the restaurant's closure yesterday. It is located on the northwest side off of Babcock Road, and the social media post stated that the restaurant will close at the end of the month or until it runs out of supplies. Well, it goes to show as San Antonio continues to grow and expand outwards that some local business owners don't want people to forget about the downtown area. And our Devin Karp spoke with one restaurant owner who says he has seen too many good eateries close down. And if nothing changes, there is going to be many more forced to make that decision.
I personally like people watching. It's fun. It's interesting. People are weird. I'm weird. Everyone's weird.
For James Sanchez, manager of the Revolucion Coffee and Juice Shop, it's always an interesting day living and working downtown.
I get to work in like 5 minutes. I don't have to take the highway or anything, and then I get all lights, all green lights if I hit it at the right time.
But some local business owners here say downtown now isn't what it used to be, especially after the pandemic.
I don't think we're ever going to recover from that completely.
This is Guillermo Garza, owner of Guillermo's here on McCullough and North St. Mary's. His restaurant's been in this location for 16 years, something he tells me a lot of his local peers can't say anymore.
And we could look at several restaurants that have closed within the last year. Burgerteca, great place, right? Closed, right? La Fruteria, right? Rio Cantina, Blue Box and the Pearl, Botica. I can go on.
Now, with inflation hurting his customers' wallets and tariffs hitting his, he's concerned about what it means for staying open.
We will definitely continue eating the cost a little bit because we have to. We can't raise prices right now because not a lot of people are coming in.
One thing he says helps are events and conventions like San Japan, which just wrapped up this weekend, bringing people and dollars into the downtown area.
When I was looking at like reports from last year, like every day that was consistent with, or that was a correlation with San Japan, it definitely like showed increase in sales through each day. So this week we were able to do much better than we did last year.
We do believe that these conventions are great, and Project Marvel.
Garza hopes a future with a new stadium in it, less construction downtown, and a bigger emphasis on locally owned businesses could mean the difference for places like his.
We're asking for our community to understand that, hey, we're in this together, right? We need to continue to take care of small businesses like this because this is what makes our community unique.
Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
Well, happening tonight, it's only Wednesday, but it's already time for the weekend. Of course, we are talking about the Grammy Award-winning artist. He's bringing his melodic brand of hip-hop to the Alamo Dome tonight. And whether you're going to the concert or not, you need to be aware of some increased traffic in the area. For fans, the advice from the Alamo Dome is to plan ahead. The Dome says it's expecting more than 43,000 people to attend. There is parking on site, but it is limited. But VIA plans to have park and ride options available. So take a look at this. Park and ride services will be available at these locations. The first is 3026 Sidney Brooks Street near the Brooks Transit Center, 3205 East Houston Street near the Frost Bank Center, and 151 Crossroads Boulevard at the Crossroads Park and Ride. VIA says service starts at 5 this evening. The fee is just $1.30 each way, but there are discounts for students and seniors. The Alamo Dome will open parking starting at 2 this afternoon, and it costs $60. Doors open at 5, and the show starts at 7 tonight. For more parking options and a look at active downtown road closures, you can head to KSAT.com.
Well, the city wants to raise fines on some of the most common parking violations by about $20, and this is one of the new ways that the city is trying to fill the budget. The violations include going over your parking meter time, parking in a no parking zone, blocking a fire hydrant or crosswalk, or parking in a handicap spot that you don't need. So alarm permit and renewal fees for homes and businesses could also go up, along with food inspection fees and also for the restaurants.
More than 200 local college students have to change their academic plans. That's because Our Lady of the Lake University cut their degree programs, and it all boils down to budget cuts. But now, affected students have less than 6 months to figure out what they're going to do. On top of that, 26 faculty members were affected by the changes, 19 of which were left without a job. Areas impacted are English, Spanish, sociology, chemistry, creative writing, and some more. Now students are left with two choices. They either have to switch degree plans or transfer to a different university.
A recent University of Incarnate Word graduate working on a way to help first responders. How a device that he's developing could make a difference.
And for the first time since 2017, there are new guidelines for blood pressure, how to help prevent future health conditions like heart disease and dementia. New blood pressure recommendations have doctors being a little more aggressive about high levels of blood pressure.
Laura Jaffney Gray has the key points to know about these new guidelines.
In the U.S., nearly half of all adults have higher than normal blood pressure, but many may not know it. 130 over 80 millimeters of mercury and higher is considered stage 1 hypertension, according to the new guidelines from the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology.
You got to start thinking about people actually having hypertension, calling it hypertension, even at lower numbers, and we have to treat it more aggressively.
High blood pressure doesn't typically have symptoms, but when it shoots up, the force of your blood pushes against the walls of your blood vessels, making your heart work harder. Without treatment, high blood pressure will eventually damage arteries, raising risk of a heart attack or stroke. The new guidelines say that if your systolic blood pressure is in the 130 to 139 range, lifestyle changes are in order.
Diet and exercise and really cutting back salt, and a big one that they're saying, no alcohol.
If that doesn't work, experts say that then to consider medication to help lower blood pressure. The new guidelines say keeping blood pressure at normal levels can not only help heart health, but also help protect your brain in the future.
There was a study out of rural China, actually, and it looked at people who had blood pressure of 130 or higher, and they were basically intensively controlled, meaning through lifestyle changes or sometimes through medications, they were able to bring their blood pressure down. And they found that when they did that, they also lowered their risk of dementia.
Daphne Gray, KSAT 12 News.
All right, so we were talking a little bit earlier in the newsroom, and some people are really feeling the pollen count today. Courtney being one of them. Oh my goodness.
That mold kills me.
The mold has climbed, I think, from a Monday's rain. So you can see behind me and on your screen here, molds are past 1,200. We've also got ragweed, pigweed, and fall elm present, but they're in low amounts. The aqua fir is only up 1/10 of a foot over the past 24 hours. But again, we are really focusing on the rain potential this weekend, particularly Sunday evening into Monday. That's when flooding is going to be possible again. Where? Impossible to know exactly where, but you'll want to be on alert. We'll talk about rainfall potential coming up in a bit.
After tomorrow's hot temperatures that we're expecting, the rain might be a nice break, but still a lot of people worried about the rain out there.
Oh yeah, I think again, because we've had so many flood events recently, there's an extra sensitivity around it, and understandably so. So we want to get on top of the forecast and tell you that by this weekend, particularly by Sunday evening, I think flooding is going to be possible in spots. So let's go ahead and take a look at your rain chances. You can see that we've been able to hone in on the forecast. Yesterday we were kind of at a toss-up between Saturday or Sunday. Now it's looking more like Sunday, especially Sunday evening into Monday is when we'll have the highest chance for rain. And with any rain that falls, it could be heavy and produce some flooding. So let's go ahead and talk about the reason why. We're really watching Hurricane Lorena now. It's a Category 1 hurricane. Lorena has strengthened quite a bit just within the last 24 hours. And Lorena is expected to become a Category 2 hurricane within the next day or so. But it will eventually fall apart over parts of western Mexico. And it's actually the moisture from Hurricane Lorena and its remnants that's going to be bringing us that extra chance for rain. So let's go ahead and take a look at the futurecast. Here's Lorena's remnants and that tropical moisture coming in from the Pacific. Watch what happens as that low pressure system gets closer to us. We start to see some rain develop along that I-35 corridor. And this is when flooding is going to be possible. You can see that we've kind of keyed into Sunday night into Monday as the time frame right now. And it is important to note that even early Monday morning, potentially when you're trying to go get the kids to school or go to work, there could still be some rain in the area. Then by Tuesday, things will dry out for us as the remnants of Lorena head on off to the north and to the east. So how much rain are we talking about here? I think that this graphic really describes the kind of rain we could see. You can see that there's a few bullseyes here on the map. Let's go ahead and take a look at the potential rainfall total there of more than 5 inches. Bullseyes of more than 5 inches, perhaps even up to about 8 inches of rain. And then there will be other areas that receive maybe 1/4 inch of rain to 1 inch of rain. That is a huge difference. And all it takes is for this one bullseye to be a little bit more to the north, maybe by about 50 or so miles, right over San Antonio. And what we could see is some pretty major flooding in the city. And so we really want you to pay very close attention to the forecast Sunday. If you have plans, especially Sunday night, you really need to be very aware of your surroundings because heavy rain could park itself right over your location and result in some heavy flooding. So we will keep you posted. There is going to be some variation on exactly where the heaviest of rain will fall. But what we do know is what's coming into a clearer picture is that Sunday through early Monday is the time frame for the potential for flooding, with a possible bullseye of 5+ inches of rainfall in spots. And the location is to be determined. You can kind of think of it as a rainfall lottery. There will be some who get a lot of rain. There will be some who miss out on rain. By the way, that bullseye of 5+, it could fall where we really need it to, in Medina County, where we've got exceptional drought. So again, there's still a lot to focus on, and the impact would be potential flash flooding, which of course we do not want with any heavy rain. Outside right now for the rest of your day, it's hot. It's 91 in San Antonio, feeling like 97. But for the remainder of the afternoon, we're actually going to have some dry air settle in place. And that means that kind of what you see is what you get on the thermometer. So yes, it'll be hot, 98, but it's going to feel like 98 or even a degree or two cooler than that because of the lower humidity. Then tonight's going to be pretty pleasant with temperatures falling to near 80 degrees by midnight. So just kind of recapping everything for you. Hot today, even hotter tomorrow. We're going to be at 102. That would be our 20th triple-digit day in San Antonio. And then our focus is on the weekend for that potential for flooding Sunday into Monday. By the way, we have already had more rain this year than we have the last few years, since 2021. So I'll have a look at that coming up in a bit.
All right, thanks, Sarah. A recent University of Incarnate Word graduate is gaining significant attention for a device he's developing. Why he says it could revolutionize how first responders locate victims during natural disasters.
While responding to a natural disaster, each second can be the difference between life and death. And now a recent University of the Incarnate Word graduate is developing a device that he says could have been a game changer during the Hill Country floods.
John Paul Barajas reports that young man's prototype just came in first at a global competition with more than 9,000 submissions.
Raging water, chaos, in the scramble to find and save lives. Events like the Hill Country floods changed not just the community impacted, but the world as everyone tries to prevent another tragedy.
You're confident that Earth Live would have been extremely beneficial in the Hill Country floods?
I am extremely confident.
Enrique Gomez Jackson graduated from UIW this May. For the past 2 years, she's been developing a smart bracelet, Earth Live, to improve and speed up response in natural disasters. He used the survivors and victims of Camp Mystic as an example.
So if all of the girls had been wearing Earth Live at the moment, the search and rescue efforts would have taken hours instead of days, and it would have still transmitted the location of the girls to the satellite every 60 seconds.
And Enrique isn't the only one who believes in his device. His prototype placed first in a global STEM competition with over 9,000 submissions.
Congratulations to our first place winner, Enrique Gomez Jackson.
It was hosted by communications giant Viasat, who specializes in satellite internet, which Enrique explained, that's how the bracelets work, GPS tracking through satellites.
Usually when a disaster takes place, the first thing to go down is usually the coverage of cellular or Wi-Fi.
He adds the device will also have the capability to store a person's medical information, such as a blood type, information that is also vital in an emergency.
What is your ultimate goal with this device?
Our ultimate goal is to become the standard for global response in terms of technology between victims and emergency responders.
And so the work continues. Enrique was awarded $15,000 to continue developing Earth Live from Viasat and hopes that it'll be ready for purchase in a few years. John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
All right, taking a look back outside with live cam, we know it's going to be toasty. You can see the Toy Story clouds in the sky.
I love that.
My Toy Story clouds. But we know that we're just really preparing mainly for the weekend's rain.
Yeah, Sunday evening into Monday, it's coming into clearer picture that could be the time that we see some heavy rain potentially leading to flooding. But like you mentioned, it is going to be hot today. It'll be 98 in San Antonio with triple digits likely for areas like Converse, Seguin, Floresville, Pleasanton, and out near Stinson. Now, so far this year has been pretty good for us rain-wise. I'm showing you annual rainfall over the last 10 years, and you can see that so far we've already had more rain than we did all of last year, and more rain than we did in 2023 and 2022, which was a very dry year. Really, our last year that we saw rainfall that was more than average was back in 2021. And so it has been a dry stretch here for us. But many of us remember that stretch of 2016 to 2018 where we had a decent amount of rainfall, more than 10 inches of what is average, which is a little bit more than 30 inches of rain. So we'll have to see if we get to what's average for this year, 32 inches of rainfall. And we have a decent chance to see some heavy rain on Sunday, particularly in the second half of the day, Sunday into early Monday. That's when flooding is going to be possible. We're going to talk more about that and the reason why, which is Hurricane Lorena in the Pacific, coming up in just a bit.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, more than 70 unaccompanied Guatemalan children are still in the country after the Trump administration was blocked from having them deported over the holiday weekend. The administration says the purpose was to reconnect the children with their parents in their home country. Now, some of those unaccompanied children were staying at a facility here in San Antonio. Now, the children were housed at Compass Connections, that is a facility contracted by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services off of Highway 90. And late Saturday night, authorities attempted to remove the children and bus them to Harlingen in the Rio Grande Valley to be deported. Now, the planes sat on the tarmac for hours as attorneys worked to get a temporary restraining order.
We were notified late on Saturday night at approximately 11 p.m. that the facilities holding these children were given approximately 2 hours to have all of the Guatemalan children ready to be discharged so that immigration could disappear them to Guatemala in the dead of night on the middle of a holiday weekend.
Well, the children ages 13 to 17 will now be allowed to stay in the U.S. for at least 2 weeks as their cases move through the legal system. Again, the Trump administration says it was attempting to reunite the children with parents in Guatemala, but attorneys dispute that claim.
Some people living in Wilson County are stressed out this morning. Their concern surrounds the possible destruction of nature around their home. This comes after a developer recently requested a permit to build a new wastewater treatment plant in town. This summer, the company HK Bellis Ranch submitted that application. The development would add 900 single-family homes off Highway 181 near Floresville. While it's just grass right now, homes built in this field would generate wastewater, which would, of course, need treatment. But nearby neighbors have health concerns about the plan. They say the need for development should not be enough to risk the life quality of the current residents.
The state as a whole needs to get a grip on development.
In an email to KSAT, the attorney for the developer says Bellis Ranch will use a state-of-the-art treatment system.
Well, the vote to determine the fate of the new Spurs Arena is just over 2 months away, and it is shaping up to be one of the biggest issues for voters. And the Spurs Arena is part of Project Marvel that is estimated to cost $1.3 billion. So $311 million of that could come from Bexar County. And that money would come from an increase in visitor hotel rental car taxes. And we asked Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones whether she's on board with that move.
The measure that I support is if you pay twice, you should vote twice. I've said that, right? Because when you vote on the 311, if you live in the city, you're not just paying, $489 because you also live in the county, which means you're also paying 311, which means if you are a city voter, you are actually on the hook for $800 million of the $1.3 billion stadium.
Well, in the meantime, the Spurs are rallying to get the public on board with the new arena, and the Spurs will hold its first public rally this Saturday called Win Together. That's going to be at Idle Brewery downtown from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
It has been nearly 2 months since the deadly Hill Country flooding.
And one of the people whose story we shared in those first few days was singer-songwriter Julia Hatfield. Now, that interview symbolized strength and composure she had after she and her husband were nearly swept away in their RV at the Blue Oak RV Park in Ingram. She returned to that same RV park, and our Erica Hernandez was there with her.
There used to be a whole barn right here.
Okay.
A workshop that those cabins started floating over, and there was, I'll never forget that guy was just standing on the front porch of the rental cabin. There was just no way to get to him. There was no way for him to get off and get to safety, and
things you'll never forget seeing.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I keep telling people, between the sights, the sounds, the smells, it's definitely a visceral experience.
We're so glad she made it out okay. As she continues to heal through her music and the support of her community, her story stands as a testament to both nature's might and human resilience in the face of disaster. Well, coming up, Amazon is making changes that could make it more difficult to share accounts. Details still ahead. A popular program that let Amazon Prime members share free shipping benefits with people outside their household is going away. The company says it's shutting down the Prime Invitee program on October 1st. Going forward, those perks will only be available through Amazon Family, which does allow sharing with one other adult plus kids and teens, but that's only if they all share the same address. Anyone else will have to buy their own membership. The company insists membership remains strong, citing record global signups during and leading up to its annual Prime Day sale.
Well, the Transportation Security Administration said it screened nearly 10.4 million people over the 4-day Labor Day holiday weekend. That is more than a 3% jump from the same time last year. The TSA said Friday marked one of the busiest days in its history, with more than 2.9 million passengers screened. That is the highest number ever for a Friday before the holiday.
Well, a group of Chinese researchers has created what they say are the first multicolored and brightest ever glow-in-the-dark plants. Researchers injected the leaves of the plant with strontium aluminate.
That's a material often used in glow-in-the-dark toys that absorbs light and gradually releases it over time. This approach is different from the traditional gene editing technique that scientists use to achieve that glow effect. Injecting a plant with the nanoparticles allows researchers to create plants that glow red, blue, and green.
Once injected and placed under direct sunlight for a couple of minutes, the plants continue to glow for up to 2 hours. This reminds me of like Avatar.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Doesn't it? Totally. Like that scene in Avatar.
But honestly, how impressive is it if you take the glow stick stuff and put it in plants? Of course it's going to glow. Sorry, I guess I'm just not fully understanding.
Science with Sarah
breaking it down into science, yeah.
Science with Sarah is unimpressed.
It's just pretty.
Okay, molds are high past 1,200. Ragweed, pigweed, and fall elm are low. The aquifer is up 1/10 of a foot over the last 24 hours, and we are all focusing on our rain chances, particularly Sunday night, and into Monday, because that's when flooding is once again going to be possible in San Antonio and the Hill Country. I'll have those details coming up.
Don't forget about us. That's the message from lifelong Comfort locals whose July 4th flood stories have not been told yet until now. They know flood recovery takes a long time because they've been through it before. They lived through the flood of 1978. One woman who depends on an oxygen tank told me how she felt on July 4th, watching the water approach her home again. This is beautiful.
But on July 4th, Barbara and C. Daniel Zeller's peaceful yard in Comfort was flooded with water from the Guadalupe River below them.
And you're on a really high incline here.
Yeah, it is. You know,
Wow.
it's high. It was, I think the most frightening part was that it came so fast and was just all the stuff it was carrying with it was really scary. And then the fire department came by and told us we had to evacuate.
Was that so scary for you? Because I know that you're on oxygen.
Had to pack up my oxygen.
Also stressful because they'd been through this before in the 1978 flood.
In 78, we had 2.5 feet inside the house.
That's how far the water made it?
Luckily, this time the river stopped rising just 10 feet from their home. But not everyone was so lucky.
I've lived in Comfort all my life, but I've worked in Kerrville for 40 years, over 40 years. So to all of a sudden see names start popping up that lost their lives, and those were people that I knew, that it was difficult.
So what does this place mean to you?
I mean, it's my world.
While Donna Spencer's town has suffered so much pain, they've also shown true grit.
If it's cooking meals for someone, if it's helping someone with their laundry, if it's helping someone just clean out and rebuild, everybody has their strengths.
And Donna said they'll have to use those strengths for a long time.
This is going to be a long recovery. I want to make sure that people just don't forget that there's a lot of people that are still going through a very, very difficult time.
But with continued support, acknowledgement, and love, healing is possible.
Yeah, and they were such an amazing family to speak with because they've been through this before, so they have that insight. And I think it's just a good thing to remember. We did that story about the small businesses in these areas. Like, these communities are going to be living through this for a long time. So tomorrow marks 2 months.
Yeah.
So, just keep them in your thoughts and go support their communities.
Absolutely. Great advice there. And again, Courtney, while I don't think we have to be on alert for as large of flooding as what we saw on July 4th, we do have to be aware that flooding is once again going to be possible this weekend, particularly street flooding, flash flooding, and the like, mainly in the second half of Sunday into Monday. So the time frame is coming into clearer focus here. For the most part, your Saturday should be just fine for the weekend, hot with some spotty rain, but it's Sunday that I want everybody to be paying very close attention to the forecast. If you're heading out and about, you're going to need to be on alert on Sunday, particularly in the second half of the day into Monday. And here's the reason why. Hurricane Lorena. It's a Category 1 hurricane, and Lorena has already strengthened much past where it was originally forecast. But it's not necessarily the strength of Lorena that we have to be concerned about here in San Antonio, because Lorena is going to fall apart over Mexico. The thing we need to be on alert for is the amount of moisture that's going to be coming our way from this Pacific storm. As Lorena falls apart, it's going to be bringing tropical moisture and streaming tropical moisture into Texas. At the same time, there's going to be a cool front that comes in from the north. So we're going to have lift from the front, lift from the low pressure system, and a lot of tropical tropical moisture. Not that usual moisture at the surface that we usually feel in the form of humidity, but moisture from the surface all the way up high into the atmosphere, creating the potential for some serious rain bombs over the second half of Sunday into Monday. That's where flooding is going to be possible, not only here in south central Texas, but across a good portion of Texas as well. So what do you need to know? When is the rain most possible? Sunday through early Monday is the time frame we're looking at. And as we get closer, we'll be able to narrow that time frame even more. How much rain? There will be bullseyes of 5+ inches of rain somewhere across south central Texas, so that includes the Hill Country, the I-35 corridor from San Antonio to Austin, all the way down into the Rio Grande Valley. Bullseyes of 5+ are possible. It's the where that's to be determined. Exactly where those bullseyes will fall, it's kind of a rainfall lottery. If those bullseyes happen over the city, that's going to result in some pretty intense flash flooding. But if those bullseyes happen over more rural areas or areas outside of where rivers are, then there may just be some good, healthy rain for those who are really needing it. We will keep you posted. One thing you should know is that it's going to really reduce temperatures. Highs will only be in the 80s Sunday through Tuesday because of that added rainfall and cloud cover. Meanwhile, though, before that, we're going to be hot. We're going to be climbing to 102 tomorrow in San Antonio. In fact, I want to show you the forecast highs tomorrow. It'll be 103 in New Braunfels, 101 in Uvalde, 101 in Del Rio, 104 in Cotulla, and 102 in Beeville and Pleasanton. But the good news is it's going to be a dry heat. Here's a look at the forecast dew points. Dew points will only be in the 50s. So that's okay. That means what you see is what you get when it comes to the temperatures. So if you find some shade, it really shouldn't be all that bad out there. It'll be close to 100 on Friday as well. Again, Saturday is probably going to be fairly quiet other than a couple of pop-up downpours. But it's Sunday evening into Monday that we're really paying close attention to for the potential for some flooding. And again, if I can stress to you, make sure to have the KSAT Weather Authority app because we will be updating the forecast and sending notifications right to your phone. Guys.
We will. Thank you, Sarah. And summer movie season may be over. However, September is packed with new movies heading to theaters, and the list includes at least a classic comedy making a comeback. Well, even though fall's right around the corner, the box office heating up this month.
CNN's Rick Damigella is previewing several new releases that are hitting the big screen.
8 people live in this house. 8 people have experienced this.
September starts off scary in cinemas with the arrival of The Conjuring Last Rites on September 5th. It's joined by 2 very different rom-coms, Splitsville and The Threesome.
We're still short a drummer.
What happened to him?
He sneezed himself into oblivion.
There's something for almost everyone's taste as a quartet of new movies take the stage on September 12th. Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, gets the band back together. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, brings the costume drama to a close. The Long Walk adapts Stephen King's novel, and anime fans are bracing for Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba the movie, Infinity Castle.
Are you here by yourself?
I am.
September 19th sees the release of Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell in a big, bold, beautiful journey alongside alien invasion adventure Xeno.
Who are they? Why are they doing this?
And September ends with horror sequel The Strangers Chapter 2 and the more lighthearted fare of June Squibb in Eleanor the Great, directed by Scarlett Johansson. Selecting reserved seats in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Well, the second annual Texas Eats Food Festival is set for September 20th. This is happening at the Boeing Techport Center, and you can try food from 20 top restaurants from across Texas made by Michelin and James Beard award-winning chefs.
So if you want to buy tickets, scan the QR code on your screen. Plus, a portion of the proceeds will benefit the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country.
And this month, the San Antonio Zoo saying thank you to Texas frontline heroes with free admission all month long. Doctors, nurses, police, firefighters, and EMTs can visit for free with an ID.
And you can bring up to 4 guests who can enjoy half-off tickets. Looking ahead, after September 20th, you can also enjoy Zoo Boo, the zoo's family-friendly Halloween event with trick-or-treating, animal encounters, and fall fun.
All right, so the next couple of days are going to be hot. In fact, tomorrow we're going to be at 102. But our forecast is really focusing on the next potential for heavy rain and some flooding. So far, it's looking like Sunday, second half of the day into Monday is when rain is most likely. But I'll be honest with you guys, this forecast is going to change a little bit over the coming days as we get closer to the weekend. In fact, I want you to check in with meteorologist Adam Caskey later today at 5 and 6 because he may have adjustments to the forecast as well. Again, we work together as a weather team to keep you safe and informed, and we want you to be very alert to the risk for potential flooding this weekend, again, Sunday night into Monday. But otherwise, again, don't cancel your weekend plans. Saturday should be okay, just a few spotty downpours here and there. So I've already had people ask me, what about Saturday? What about Saturday? I think for the most part on Saturday, you should be fine.
That is good. But we'll be following you guys closely on the app and, of course, also on air as well. We're lucky. We get a front row seat to the
I know.
updates.
We sit right by them. And so I'm like, hey, what's it looking like now?
Most of the time, Courtney has asked me, what's the pollen count? What's going on out there?
My migraine peeps know. It's day to day.
I'm glad. I feel very important.
You are. You are. Thank you for being there for us.
Thank you for watching and dealing with us. We love you all. Have a great day.
Tune in at 5 and 6.